Hey everybody, it's Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong. Not too long ago I was going through some ephemera and I came across a recipe for corn fritters. It was in this little, just a folded page. It was an advertisement for Royce's extracts. I'm sure the recipe is old. That jumped out at me. My mom would fry cornbread patties, is what we called them, or little cornbread cakes. And so would my grandmother. My grandmother made apple turnovers, and maybe at some point one of them did make some kind of a corn fritter that, had corn in it, obviously. What I remember was little cakes that were fried in an iron skillet in grease that had cornmeal, and they're really good. Cornmeal patties or cakes or whatever. They're so good. Oh my goodness, they're good. And especially with like pinto beans, and take an onion and dice that up and just put fresh onion and have those cornbread patties. So when I came across this recipe, it just jumped out at me, and one of you, I think it was Robin, said, let me know how these turn out. And they're so good. This recipe is the bomb. It is a really, really easy and really good recipe. The night before I made these, Jason and I had hiked to New Hope Creek, or driven over there and then hiked at New Hope Creek, I should say. Earlier in the day, I had started a pot of pinto beans, and I put smoked turkey legs in that. I left that in the crock pot, so when we came home, our meal was ready. We had an easy salad to go with that. But, the next day we had leftovers. That was a big pot of pinto beans, and I had planned to fry some okra with that, and it just hit me as I was frying the okra. That recipe is right around on the dining room table. I think I'm going to go ahead and try that tonight. I don't always fry two different things at one time, but I said I'm up for the challenge. So the fried okra was in the iron skillet, and then I pulled out a stainless steel skillet and used vegetable oil to go ahead and fry the corn fritters as well. Now I have to tell you as a side note, and I could get on a rabbit trail and talk for probably an hour about my family. My dad, well, he was a good looking man. He was Irish pretty much, and tall, slender, dark hair, freckles, blue eyes. But the coloring and the charm, it was kind of like a Pierce Brosnan look. My dad's mother was a beautiful auburn-headed woman, but she was not very nice. She could be nice if that was her choice, but she could be very, very cold. She was beautiful. She was intelligent. She was a good cook. She gave birth to 5 beautiful children. I think I know now why she had some of the issues that she did, and I will say quickly, some of my thoughts about her developed as a child growing up, and only in the last few years have I come to understand with such depth, maybe more of what she was going through after she died. I mean, who knew that Ancestry.com would come along and the world would have access to records that we never thought we'd see? Add to that the ability to use DNA and connect yourself with cousins you didn't know you had. So, there were some secrets that by today's standards are nothing. It's nothing to be ashamed of. But I believe my grandmother, Mima, my dad's mom, we called her Mima, I don't think she wanted to talk about certain things, and that made her feel cold when really probably she just didn't want to talk about it. So that door was closed, and I could talk forever. When my first baby was born, my spouse and I packed the baby up to go see Mima. That was the first time that my husband would be meeting her, and I wanted her to meet her brand new great-grandson. Well, she didn't invite us in the house. I mean, that's how extreme it could be. She was friendly. She loved the baby. We were invited to sit on her carport, and I believe she offered us something to drink, probably a can of some sort of soft drink. She always had some sort of soda or soft drink in her refrigerator. it just felt bizarre. It felt really bizarre to my then husband as well that we didn't get invited inside. Daniel was born in June, so it was blistering North Carolina summer. Fast forward to when baby Joseph was born. I packed up Daniel and Joseph and made the trek, which was only an hour and a half, but I had 2 small kids with me, once again to see her, to make the effort to visit, to show her Joseph, and she was in a mood. Not only was she her usual cool self, she was upset about something that supposedly I had done. And it got ironed out before I left. And her husband, he was a good man, and he was very friendly and very warm. He wasn't my real grandfather because my real grandfather died young, and she had remarried. But I stood there by the stove, and Joseph must have been asleep in his car seat. My kids had to mind. I think Daniel, he was well behaved. He was probably sitting somewhere close by. But as I stood there, she was frying okra. She barely looked up at me. She finally did. But she was so patient frying that okra. You know, I've seen people just dump the whole lot of it in a pan and turn it with one spatula and it kind of tears the breading off or whatever. You can do that, and you can flip it carefully that way. You can also use a deep fryer. But she, with a fork in her hand, carefully turned every single piece. Every single piece was perfect. I just sort of fell in love with her in a way that I never had before. And ever since then, that's the way I have fried okra. And that's like my tribute to Mima. Her name was Maddie, M-A-T-T-I-E. Her middle name was Vernon, and she used that name. She would go by Maddie and Vernon. But anyway, we had fried okra. The corn fritters were the bomb. This recipe is awesome. You should try it. I used vegetable oil. Mine might be the store brand, but it would be something like a Crisco liquid oil. I don't keep solid fat on hand like lard or anything like that, although I know it's good. And what else can I tell you? Of course, I don't have Royce's extract, pepper extract from the early 1900s, so I didn't use that. I bet you could put a drop of something like Tabasco and maybe do something like that. Not sure. I didn't put any kind of flavoring. I used everything to the exact measurements. I opened a can of Food Lion brand, which is the store brand, cream corn, and used 1 cup. So it didn't take the whole can. Now the recipe says to turn frequently, and I mean they brown really fast, so you have to pay attention to that. And my heat was probably on medium-high, so this is like the first video in a series that I'm working on to get marked off the to-do list. I finished the IMAGE-ZINE today. I have to get it on the website. I've been working on a new planner for myself. I finished a new journal today. I've got to get out of this mood that I've been in. I've been dealing with some depression. I know it's depression because I have mild depression. I also think it is that this government-imposed, community-imposed, self-imposed quarantine has rewired my brain. That can happen. That's a real thing. You know, it takes, some people say 21 days, 30 days, 14 days, whatever it is. It only takes a certain number of days to make a habit. I lost my mojo. I was in such a huge high energy state. I was working full time. I was keeping up the YouTube channel. I was creating every single day. I was helping one of my sons with his 2 children, which are my beautiful grandchildren. That just really ground to a halt. Life is altered. It's really, really altered for me, and I got to get back in the groove. I did a lot of organizing, but I'm at my wit's end in a way, and not in a big adrenaline rushed, frantic way. It's more in a very low energy, where's my mojo, a little bit depressed, afraid, because we've been told that coronavirus is still out there and it's coming back. But I'm on the way back up. I'm getting my energy back up and redoing my planner. My whole brain and my whole thinking is just rewired right now. So that's going to be the next video on the list that I'm going to try to get produced ASAP. With that, I'm going to go on and show you the corn fritters and get inside. Jason and I have to figure out something for dinner. Everything closes early now. We don't have anything cooked. Partially my fault, partially his fault. Nobody's fault really, but we kind of take turns, you know, coming up with what are we going to do tonight. And this day is just vanished. We both got a lot done, and it was mostly dealing with arts. Me with my craft and him with his music. So anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Jason and I both grocery shop. Sometimes we buy okra that's already breaded, and sometimes we buy the kind that this just cut and probably flash frozen or something like that, and we bread it when we get it home and fry it. Okay, I just tasted one of these corn fritters and they are so good. They are really, really good. The recipe says to turn them frequently, and that is the truth. They brown really, really quickly. I cook a lot with olive oil, but for these I'm using just a vegetable oil. Let me get over here and mess with the okra because I think I want it crispy, but I don't want it to burn, and I have pieces I need to turn. I think for the fritters though, you know, an oil that's going to be good at a high temperature is best. Usually they flip right over. It's because I'm recording. But getting back over to these, you can see we just turned that and I'm back, and look at that golden, beautiful, beautiful golden color. This is the plate of some I have finished, and there's a big gaping hole there because I've already eaten one. Honestly, it's the reason that nothing fits anymore, but that's all right. It's okay. Yeah, look at that. So this recipe is said to drop in by spoonfuls. I used a 1/4 cup measuring cup and didn't fill it full. I mean, I just put big drops in here. This is how many it made, minus the one I ate. And these are so fluffy. They're so good. I'll show you what the inside of one looks like. This is so good. If you can see the corn in there. I wish the lighting was better. These are so fluffy, and they have the best taste.